Welcome back to Perspectives, the Honorized News. Events planning is an exciting job that every industry looks forward to. It comes with its obstacles, it comes with its challenges. It is something that, if not well done, can ruin the reputation of the planner. Events planning has become a very buoyant industry in today's times. There are challenges in this industry. There are obstacles. There are so many things that can go wrong, and if not well handled, can lead to the ruin of the reputation of that company. Events planning is something that if you're not prepared for, if you're not well detailed about what you want to execute, it can be an albatross on your neck if you're faced with challenges. So the best way for event planning to be at its best is to ensure that all areas and all angles involved in the execution is well done. So today we will discuss the challenges that face events planning. We will discuss the obstacles and we'll discuss ways to overcome these obstacles and ensure that your client is at their most satisfied.
Very well said. Events are a big deal. The planning, the details, the merriment, from concerts to fashion shows to weddings, from the guest list to dress code, to decorations to edibles. Events occur frequently and require meticulous planning, thus the great rise of the event planning industry in Nigeria. Valued today at well over ₦1 trillion, the industry has magnified many professions, including photography, catering, DJing, makeup artistry, and cake designing. With hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs succeeding in this space, it has become a rising industry with great potentials as a significant contributor to Nigeria's GDP. Events such as the Calabar Festival, Kano's Durbar Festival, The Experience, the annual month-long December in Nigeria, and several fashion weeks contribute to the industry's foundational potentials to attract tourists from every region across the world. But they are very essential national priorities affecting development of the sector. Most important priorities include world-class airports, world-class roads, safe and affordable transportation options, attractive accommodation options, and overall smarter, well-connected cities, enjoyable by residents and tourists alike. Events play a major role in every country, unifying stakeholders, celebrating milestones, marketing products, and developing ideas for innovation and progress. Appreciation of Nigerian music, innovation of Nigerian food, and marketing of made in Nigeria products all take place at well-planned events. The industry has come a long way and will continue to rise with great leadership and a strong focus on development. Much more will be discussed with our special guest today. But first, a very unique report on the events planning industry in Nigeria.
Behind every successful event, there is a person working tirelessly to ensure that all ends are aligned in the right direction. From the music, food, the overall outlook of every occasion is down to the event planner. Event planning is the process of putting on and managing a variety of events, from something as small as a meeting to as big as a convention and everything in between. When event planning, you'll be taking into account every aspect of that event, whether it's a birthday party or a networking event. This means you'll be estimating budgets, creating timelines to schedule the event, reserving the site and any panels or speakers involved, get necessary permits, food, transportation, and more. If the event has a theme, you develop that too. Carrying out any event requires a proper event plan, which defines how an event will be executed. It addresses all the components of an event, such as the start and the end dates, budget, venue, marketing, attendees, and more. The scope and complexity of the event plan vary depending on the size of the event, but fundamental challenges remain the same. Nigerian events, especially weddings, are colorful, festive, and filled to the brim with music, food, and dancing. The need for the event planner to be on their A game is required in order to avoid situations where guests start grumbling or creating a scene, especially when they are not served food or attended to. Today on Perspectives, we'll be breaking down the components of setting up an event, from creating the event timeline, the budgeting, picking a venue, among other elements that make events successful.
You know what? I think, we have really grown. I mean, can you imagine 20 years ago, there was nothing like an event planner. Nobody even thought that you needed that kind of service. So now that Nigeria is really moving forward, and that is one industry that is really, really growing in leaps and bounds. It's just that I'm wondering how they're coping now with the rate of dollar at 1,310.
I mean, every industry is affected.
Yeah, because
every single industry in Nigeria is affected by the naira depreciation.
Well, they said they're bringing $10 billion in, so let's see.
Well, I don't like to hear that they are bringing in. I want it to come first, then announce it.
Well, they say they're
I don't like hearing, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Please do it, because Nigeria cannot wait. Don't get into politics, because
let's not even
this period is not
from our topic today, because before they say, when did we become financial analysts?
Well,
even though it doesn't need to.
We are perspectives, exactly. So the very best.
Anyway,
of
so I think that. Like you said, every industry is challenged. What I want to find out is what alternative measures they are taking when it comes to budget. Like if, for instance, something was going to cost, let's just say, give a figure of 50 million naira, and now the person can't afford that 50 million naira. What other alternative measures are event planners taking to ensure that the client gets the kind of results that they still desire, even if not as elaborate or
exactly.
as,
Exactly.
And then I think people are also doing, I don't know whether COVID had anything to do with that. I think people are also having smaller events, although I went to
hybrid events. Just invite like 30 people and then let the rest watch it digitally.
Like big parties. Nigerians love big parties. Do you understand?
But you can also streamline the
I guess you can
in-person guests.
But if both the couple, both mother and husband and wife come from big families. Big families still happen. Big events still occur. What we are hoping for is that maybe we can start learning how to, cut our coats according to our size. Reduce on certain things and not be so lavish or so elaborate.
Right.
I'm curious to see how they've managed to.
I mean, since COVID, the rise of events being streamed online on YouTube has significantly increased. People are just having, the very key people attend in person, so it's not so rowdy as it used to be.
It's not as rowdy,
and then everybody else can,
you know your people
watch
now.
it.
It's not as rowdy, but
Yeah.
you still have big events. I mean, there's some that I still see happening, and I'm like, oh my God, I wonder how much this costs, which is not something that I even used to think about. But now, but like you said, people become more innovative. I think the tightening of purse strings.
The two most innovative things I've realized with Nigerian events, music. I think music, we've gotten music to a T.
Yeah, but that's because we don't have to
most events, I enjoy the music, I enjoy dancing.
Yes.
And the second one would be...
event or
at events.
Okay.
The first one would be music. I totally enjoy music. I think we have very good DJs across Nigeria doing excellent work there. And then the second one would be the food. I think so many caterers and vendors have become so creative with food.
They have, but people also waste
quite
food a lot. Have you noticed that people waste food a lot at events?
Too,
I mean, the amount of food wastage when it comes to food. My heart bleeds when I think about
those that are hungry.
The host. No, not the host. Sometimes I even wonder whether they pack. In fact, that's another thing I'm going to ask. I wonder whether they pack some of these people that cater to it. They pack the food home because some of them is they just take maybe 1 or 2 pieces of.
I think the leftovers, yes, they would.
That's what I'm saying. The leftovers,
they will take it home. But,
I wonder if they do that.
But a lot of events we're seeing how people like stash. They have their handbag close to them and bottles of drinks going into my bag.
I've seen that too.
Yeah, a lot happens at events.
A lot happens.
And the souvenirs, they're getting very creative these days.
Yes, they are actually. They are. Yeah. Because enough of those plastics and trays and what have you. I mean, please, you need to move with the times. People are actually becoming more creative. Yes, that's true. So, like, whether I would like it or not, it's an industry that has led to other openings for other people in other areas.
It has.
So
it has. So many jobs have been created. So many new entrepreneurs have sprung up.
Yes.
And people are playing successfully in the space.
Well, let's see how they will continue to grow, and let's see the 2 top people that we have today. Maybe they will share some ideas with us and some innovations that they themselves have come up with that will make events just even that bit more exciting.
Absolutely. We have 2 great guests today. We're excited.
We're heading for a short break, but stay with us. Perspectives will return in just a moment. Welcome back to Perspectives, the On the Rise News.
welcome back. Time to introduce our guest. First is Uche Majekodunmi. She is founder and executive director of notable events management company, Newton and David. She has a bachelor's degree in theatre arts from the University of Jos and a master's degree from Liverpool University. With over 30 years of experience in the industry, we welcome you to Perspectives today.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Elizabeth Elohor Aisien is the CEO of Best Model Management, launched in 2005, and the organizer of Elite Model Look Nigeria. In 2007, she secured a franchise with Elite Model Management in Paris to organize Elite Model Look Nigeria. In 2013, she launched Privé Luxury Wedding Events Company. In 2015, she also launched a one-stop luxury bridal store in Lagos, Privé Atelier. Elohor is a self-made, highly successful businesswoman with expertise in wedding and event planning. So welcome, both of you, to Perspectives. You know, like we were discussing earlier on, I mean, event planning, I was telling her that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, nobody even knew there was any such thing as event planning. But it has now grown to a bludgeoning industry. But like with every industry, there are challenges. So let's start with you, Uche. What are the things that can make an event planner's job really difficult? And what is your recommendation on how these challenges can be overcome or reduced?
As I sit here, I think of so many. But then again, like I said, things like this, it's better for it to be a passion for you.
Yeah.
So you go on in spite of the challenges. Well, part of it, I would say, is the culture, our culture here. You know, we're sort of very easygoing about a lot of things, and we're not very rigid about agreements. You know, so those are some of the challenges. So many come to mind. For instance, like guests, you have a hall sits like maybe 1,000, and you know it sits 1,000. And the client expects that the hall will sit like 1,002, 1,003. As an event manager, I think it's important, we should try as much as possible to stick to what is true, so that the client can make the best arrangement with the honest information. Because if you give them the impression that 1,000, a hall that sits 1,000 can sit 1,200, it becomes very awkward. Because you now find people looking for chairs, running up and down. There's so much confusion.
Yeah, but sometimes, even with that, which comes to the issue of gate crashing, sometimes maybe they did invite 1,000, and then 1,002 now turn up. Do you understand?
Yes,
because I was just going to ask you a lot of that. Because when it comes to security, you know, you get the invitation card, you get the small one that says, make sure you bring your whatever. But some people, like you were saying, some people can pass this card to somebody else who wasn't invited.
It happens.
And then I hear that sometimes they even pay the security. You bribe them and then you come in. So when you have an event that you've gauged for 1,000 people, is it better to invite 800? And expect that 200 maybe will get crashed instead of exactly 1,000, and then you turn up having 1,200 or 500.
Yes, actually, Ruth, you read my mind, because that's what I usually do. Like if a client says to me they're expecting 1,000 guests, I prepare for 1,200 because of our culture in Nigeria. You know, and the Yoruba will say "Mugbomuya." I heard, so I branched.
I even hear that some of them, they are shebi.
Yes.
If you don't give them ashebi or give them gele, they go to the market to look for it or buy something similar.
Of their friend, yes.
Because if security people are saying, okay, as long as you're tying the gele, that means you were invited. That doesn't really work. Especially when you send 2 geles to people. You just take one and give one to the other person who wasn't invited.
But a lot has to do with how thorough an event manager is. An event manager has to be thorough. Sometimes the event manager may not be popular because you can be a bit brutal. I've had people
but are you the one going to be gauging them at the gates?
Well, you make sure. Like what I do is sometimes I would say, I will pay you if anybody who is not invited comes in.
Yeah, but how would you know?
I will return the money to the client.
How do you know who was invited? Is what I'm saying. How do you know?
Because sometimes the client will say to me, I don't know how this person got in.
Oh, okay. That's if they have time to notice.
Do you understand? They will notice. But
you will not notice. You will not know all the guests. What I'm saying, that the client has invited.
I won't, but I will find out. I will find out.
I want to direct the next question at Elohor. Elohor, how important is location in event planning? So for instance, I'm aware that the second largest event hall in Lagos is in Festac. if in our current economy, there are ways for you to cut costs, if they are cutting the cost like by half or even 2/3, would it be a consideration to sell to your clients during the event there? If the ambience is...
No,
We
most
will not
clients
go to Festac.
would not go to Festac.
Exactly.
Depends on your client as well. Especially the clients, let me use the word, on the island. They're very specific, and they're very, very, you know, they rather have because of their friends. Because once your friends are hearing, oh, your wedding's in Ikeja, like, it's too far, you know.
Even when budget comes to play,
Festac,
even when their budget is very constrained, would you sell it to them? If they're offering you such a beautiful package and location was the only thing.
Honestly, it also depends on the person. Because my wedding was in Oregon.
There you go.
My traditional wedding was in
That's true, I
Oregon.
was there.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so it depends on the person, and obviously your friends will go anywhere for you. You know, so really, it's just that a lot of people feel, oh, it has to be on the island. It has to be on the island. You know, people travel around the world for weddings and parties.
Okay, so now, talking of, instead of going to a cheaper hall in Festac,
Yes.
not that Festac is a bad place to go to. I mean, if you love your guests,
The roads, though.
if you love your host, you would go
Yes.
anywhere. So I don't want to sound ignorant. And you can go anywhere as long as, you know, you
And
love that
Festac
you
has
feel.
people who are
Exactly.
affluent. They have their own community.
But let's not even go, because I was going to talk about Festac 77 in those days. But let's not even do it. So now, for instance, instead of going all the way to Festac, and there's a budget. And as you know, in Nigeria, things increase all the time. So maybe the budget you gave them, let's just say for the lack of, let's just say it was a 50 million naira budget. There were certain things that 50 million naira could do at the time, because I know you said that sometimes it's good to plan events months in ahead. So usually when it's an issue of budget and you now find that the monies that you've budgeted for cannot achieve the same results, what are the things that you will not compromise in terms of execution? In other words, in terms of your decor or in terms of the drinks that they're going to drink, how do you manage to now compromise to still get the same effects, but not as expensive?
It's a very good question you've asked. I mean, if it's directed,
Then you can answer
usually, if
after.
a client pays me in advance, which is good, what I do is I do most of the things. So the only thing left is usually logistics. So once a client has committed to me, and it's better to commit in advance because the client gets a better quality event because you can then, it's actually quite economically savvy because you then, you know, you have to do the things. Like for instance, I like to do bespoke stuff. So I would then be able to create the things, you know, carefully, make sure the finish is good, they get value for money. But if somebody leaves it to last minute,
it might not necessarily be last minute. It's just that as
maybe
things
like
increase,
2-3 weeks before.
as things increase in Nigeria, things just get more expensive by the week. So, Elohor, do you have anything to?
It depends also on the industry.
Yes, I guess so.
See, for instance, catering, you can't do it in advance.
Yeah, but
because food-
Elohor, do you have any?
I mean, we've had weddings last minute. We've had weddings, you know. It's all. I always say it all depends on the client. Because sometimes last minute clients always want to pay more because they're rushing. They want to, you know. And then you have people who pay in advance. But it's good for your clients to pay in advance because then you are able to pay for certain things and obviously reduce costs in certain ways. Yeah.
But there are certain things you can compromise. Rather than using silk, maybe you use cotton. Or rather than fresh flowers, you use. There are no things. There are not
There are things,
ingredients
there are
or
things,
things
I
that
mean,
you can
cut
compromise.
on drinks, you know.
Okay, rather than buy the top range, you might buy.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Buy the and then food as
Okay.
well. You know, sometimes people, you know, the food is always way too much for guests, and all. You can also reduce in terms of food. Decor as well. Depends. You know, some clients want heaven, you know, but you can tell them, look, this will, you know, you can, like you said, linen and, you know, flowers, you know, but not over the top, because some clients will stand and say, oh, I want orchids, I want this, I want that. And when, you know, look, orchids are way more expensive. You can have roses and all.
There's one other issue. Seating arrangement.
Oh.
Look, why do people even do that table sitting?
That's
That
a big
is
deal.
so
It's
difficult.
Yes.
Because I hear that you will have stubborn people who feel that they're close to the couple and go and sit where they've kept for quote unquote VIPs. So how do you guys manage that?
It's a tough one. It is really...
Some people have even been known to change table numbers.
Yep.
You put them in table 17, they will change and put another table number there. And they don't want, and they want to sit amongst their friends. So how do you guys manage that?
I don't agree with seating arrangement because I feel everyone has taken time out to come to the wedding. Everyone is a guest. Everyone for me is VIP. But obviously, some families have the VVIP, maybe a governor or a minister. Of course, we totally understand that. But then the seating arrangement, seating numbers, names, that I don't, because I've known several occasions. I remember a wedding I did, the mother forgot to put her best friend's name on the invitation. It was a major issue that day because she just forgot. So I always avoid when everyone must have their names must be on the table. I'm like, please, it doesn't work really for Nigerians.
Exactly. How many people really
because people always forget people, you know. So, but if you're doing maybe 20, 30 guests, yes. But if you're going over, I've had some 500 guests. I said you will not remember this. You know, and it causes a lot of problems later. I've seen people walking out of the hall. Why is my name not on the list?
Exactly.
You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I feel people should just leave it as it is. You know, of course, create certain tables for bride's friends, groom's friends, family members that are very, very close, and then the rest leave it as open.
What about the entourage that they carry? The VIPs and their, especially when it's a massive party. Then you now have security,
bodyguards
about
standing
10 of them,
behind,
taking up seats that guests can even get. How do you manage that?
It could be helpful if the clients make a little note that please restrict numbers or a designated sitting area in the hall for the...
But I don't see that happening. I see them sitting
the
behind.
bodyguards right behind or standing, just blocking.
No, sometimes it's managed. Sometimes it's
But
managed.
majority of the times it's
Also,
not.
a lot depends on how starstruck the client is. That's the person who's inviting people.
Yeah.
Because if the person inviting people is sort of the kind of person who defines himself, he can say to his friends, come, okay, I know your excellency, but come now, manage for my clients, manage for my event, please, manage your...
But I don't think I've seen any VIP, any of government official that has not entered an event with at least 2 or so security people.
Some, they do.
Some do. Some respect
Some do,
the guests.
they do. They respect their friends. They do.
Okay, I want to ask, what ways has the industry tried to cut costs, considering the economic downturn since COVID-19? What are some practices that has helped in sustainability?
I'll be a little insular, so I can only talk about myself. You know, a lot depends. You know, with vendors, say for instance, like caterers. There are caterers who cater for everybody. There are caterers who are exclusive. Then you even go on to chefs. So a lot depends on what somebody wants to spend. You know, you can do on the low. Even like me, Uche, I do my events are always on the low. You know, I manage my crowd. I don't hardly ever go to event centers unless that's when I'm having an event. Unless it's family doing it and I'm not footing all the bill. But if it's me personally, I manage my budget. So people can manage their budget.
Yeah, but that's probably your advantage is because that's your job.
Yeah.
So it's easy for you to
well, if a
manage
client
the
comes to me and they're open and they say to me, look, I have this budget, I want to work with this, but it hardly ever happens.
Are physical invitations still a strong necessity?
I think it is.
It is now. Those small ones, those small tags that they give you.
Your access card.
Can't it be
We call it
digitized?
access card.
Yes,
I think now
access
things
cards.
have changed.
I'm an analog person.
Like you said previously, that you know, what's with invitation and things have changed. So now, when you go to most weddings you go to now, your name has to be on the list, and you have to have an invitation.
Physical.
Yeah, because if you don't have the physical, otherwise I can
There's a way you can digitize it from your phone.
Yeah, but I can forward it to
scan
you.
and walk in.
I can forward my invitation to you, and you can use
No,
it to
just
enter.
one scan. You can only scan it
No,
one
it's on the
time.
list. So when you get there, you show your invitation and you show.
Generational,
Do you know how many times my friends, people say I want to do online invitation, then my girlfriends, my age bracket, then will tell me, come Uche, I don't know how to open this thing. I don't know what's going on here. You understand?
But
It's the younger people.
Let me ask Elohor another question. You know, that event, this event plan, because I've seen what a lot of event planners go through during events, I've realized it's not just anybody that can do that job. Do you understand? You need to obviously have a lot of controls and patience and what have you. So can each of you give us any scenario where your patience was tested to the last minute, where you almost down tools? Do you want to start with you, Elohor?
I'll go back to that wedding I mentioned about the mother forget the best friend's name. Yeah, so that happened. And then the mom came to me and said, she started shouting out, why did you not put my friend's name on the list? And her friend was looking at me and eyeing me. And then...
Meanwhile, it's not you that...
And it was not me. So I was in shock. So the party started and I passed through the table just to find out if everyone was okay. And they all just looked, all like 8
Gave you
women
daggers.
just gave me eyes like this and just removed their faces.
Wow.
Okay. Then I went to meet the mom. Mom called me aside. Sorry, please don't be upset. I was like, okay, don't worry, ma, don't worry. But I've had several cases like that. But you have to be, the industry, you have to have patience, to be honest with you. You know, you have to first of all love your job, you know, and just look at it. I have no emotions or, you know, don't be too close to anyone because obviously you're dealing with 2 different families. And
yes, that's what I was going to ask them. What
there's
about
always
families?
issues and, you know, every politics there and all that. So you have to just maintain your, you know, just be patient, to be honest.
Even speaking about families, you have a question where there are four couples involved. The daughter, maybe the parents are separated, the wife, mother has married somebody else, dad has married somebody else, same thing with the son. And then you find mothers who, when they were the primary carers for their children, they don't want the ex-husband or the father of the child to play a significant role. I've known of situations where mothers have actually chosen to walk their daughters down the aisle rather than giving the fathers that privilege. So how do you now manage family dynamics? Which is what you just said. How do you manage family dynamics? Because they can make or break.
I say to myself, yes, it can make or break. You're right. You are very correct. A marriage can end there. So one has to apply a lot of wisdom. Make harmony your aim. Make love your aim for all parties. There's an element I borrow from you, which says that there should be no, you have to detach and ensure that the aim is to make sure that this event takes place, you know? So you have to sort of be a kind of mediator.
Yes, I've seen that.
And make sure, even in sitting arrangements, you speak, you listen, and speak very little.
But what about if they want contradicting, they want opposing, they have opposing views? The father wants it this way or the mother wants it that way. How do you manage?
We have to try and speak to them that the important thing, the important issue is that the children achieve this day. The event takes place.
Do you delegate during the day of itself, like in terms of communication? Because I can just imagine you being extremely busy the entire time. How do you take care of your own emotions?
With time, you build a template, okay, that works for you. Like, for instance, I have rules that I give to the client because it can be open-ended. You know, I mean, also doesn't help also that I'm an Igbo woman, so I say it as I see and I say as I believe.
It's not just Igbo,
you know, so yeah, well, okay. You know, so it's not everything works. And I will tell my client the truth because at the end of the day, they want a beautiful event. And for those who tend to trust me a little, you know, it works out. So I'll say to you, I say, look, it works well for us if all of us come together and do this thing. You know, okay, you have more money, you have less money. But at the end of the day, you're not carrying your money anywhere. You want your child to be happy. You want the day to go well. You want the 2 of them to stay married. You don't want the marriage to end. In the case of women, I always say to the women, I say, come, your pikin, they go somewhere. You won't make she get soft landing for this family. If you have annoyed the groom's family there's going to be wahala now. Before the girl gets here, it's not even the in-laws that will be the direct in-laws. One remote auntie will decide, you see this girl, it's me and you in this family. I'm telling you.
But what about situations where the man has remarried and the man or the father is the one that has the money and now wants his wife in the house, I mean the wife now, not the mother of the daughter, to play a more prominent role? What about situations where they now delegate the mother, the real mother of the child?
It looks like Ruth, you know a lot.
I know about this event. Yeah, I know a lot about event. Yes. Because I've seen that happen many times.
It happens.
You know, where the mother of the child and the wife of the man now clash. So how best do you think a man should handle that in this country?
He's the event
A father.
manager.
I think it's event managers do so much.
Yeah.
apart from
Yeah.
just
Okay, what can you
events.
do in that situation? What would you do, Elohor?
What I usually do, first of all, my focus is always on the couple because the most important thing
Yes.
on that day is the bride and the groom. So for me, it's always what they want.
Okay.
You know, but at the same time, I have to manage both families and speak to them and let them understand that it's supposed to be a day of happy. We're supposed to all be happy. Not this war.
Events are emotional.
They're emotional, yes. And sometimes I've had brides calling me crying and telling me their whole story, and you feel that, it's not supposed to be. So I'm always focused on what the bride and groom wants. Then I can speak to the family at times. But there's been difficult families that,
Speaking of difficult families, what about bridezillas?
I wanted to
I
add.
know the way you laugh there.
I have a very important thing to add
Exactly.
because my perspective is a little different. Papa has worked very hard for many years. And yes, he's a wealthy man. And then he's marrying off his child, his daughter.
Or son or whatever.
And then the daughter believes that it's all about her. My belief is that it's not all about her. Yes, she's important in the wedding. She's very important. So is her groom, so is the groom's family. But the man probably has an office. When I say office, maybe he's in office, or even he's a industrialist. He has his friends. Then they come, the girl decides that, my dream is to have a wedding where everybody is sitting on cushions on the floor or whatever. Or it's how, they all sorts of things. So I say, well, maybe I may not be too popular with many of the brides, but I say to them, look, it's not all about you. Your father has worked very hard. Maybe when he was young, he too didn't have the kind of wedding that you're going to be privileged to have. When you have your own money, your baby's christening or whatever, you decide, or you do maybe your registry or your after party or whatever, and then you splurge on whatever your fantasies are. The wedding entertain some of your fantasies and then have some respect and regard for the person who is coughing up a hell of a lot of
But I have to
money.
ask a question concerning that, because yes, the person is the one coughing up a lot of money, and yes, understandably, respect and accreditation to be given to them. But sometimes some of these weddings that are so big, the bride and groom are just like the one that that bride and groom thing you put on the cake, on top of the cake. That's what they look like. The event is not about them anymore. It has now become one big, huge jamboree. So what are things that couples can also do so that attention to is also on them?
Sometimes I think I always say to couples.
Okay, you are nodding your head. It's like anyway, Elohor finishes, you can give us your.
For me, I think family take traditional wedding very serious. So I think the couple should always just allow a bit for their family to, for me, tradition is just for family. Then your white wedding, plan it for yourself and your friends.
So what are the kind of things that they can include in the occasion?
Like actually, that's always,
What about games, or what about, like you were saying, what about games that you play? Ask the couple questions. Things that would let the audience focus on them for at least some time of the event.
For weddings, really, there's enough to
do,
particularly now. A lot of the weddings are about the young people. Honestly,
I think
a lot of the weddings now, it's
yeah.
changed. It's not like before. A lot of weddings are about the young people. But I believe that the parents should eat well. They should be comfortable. They should sit in a decent place. Maybe not on a lot of the weddings now, you have the bride, their friends, they're on the stage, they're in control, they have a program. Also, it's important to have like a flow. And the flow is the event flow is approved by everybody. You understand? So there's something for the bride and groom prominent. There's something for if the parents of the bride and groom are probably bohemian and more liberal in their approach, they can have wedding games. They can have all kinds of things that is inclusive of everybody. So it makes it less boring.
It just it gives you an insight of what the couple is like and what have you. But anyway, speaking of vendors. Oh, my auntie does shoes, and my auntie does jollof rice, or my cousin makes the best pounded yam and egusi, or somebody else. How do you manage the quality of vendors, and how do you also ensure that the clients get the service that they paid for?
Yes,
and the vendors don't shortchange them.
You see, with years of doing this, I have a clause in my contract when I'm working that Newton and David does not take responsibility for the performance of vendors they have not recommended. Because like if I recommend a vendor, it's because I know the vendor, I know what their output is. I'm also, my approach also is that there's the American system where clients get their 10% from, or I mean the business owner, the event planner gets 10% of whatever, which is the practice in the US. I think for me personally, with the Nigerian way of things, I charge a heavy flat fee. Okay, so that I can now be, I can be focused on the quality of service. Because for me, the quality of service that my vendor gives is very important. And I ask my client to not pay everything. They should have a retention fee so that if the delivery is not as it should be, we should then get some money back.
That's if they're your vendors or if they're their vendors.
If they're my vendors, if they're their own vendors now, they will give the money. Whatever, so I don't have anything to do with what the service delivery is because I can't control that. You understand? I can't do anything. And the sentiment.
I mean, I always prefer working with vendors I know, because it's easier and you're able to manage them, and obviously you know the kind of work they would, But the same thing, we've had couples saying, "Oh, my sister, my auntie, they have to bring," and I always tell them the same, that I can't guarantee, and it's happened. They've seen it, a few times, and someone says, "Oh, don't worry, someone is handling drinks," and then you don't see the drinks at the end of the day. So what I always do is, look, okay, someone's handling drink. Can I have someone else handling drink as a backup? So most times they always agree to that because, it's really important on the day that everything goes very smoothly.
Okay. We're going on the break soon. So we're going on the break now. See you in about 5 minutes on Perspectives. We'll be right back soon. Uche and Elohor, during the break we were talking about food wastage. Somebody will say, "Oh, give me 1 bowl of rice and stew." I don't like it. It looks like there's bone in this fish. Gone aside. Another, they will bring amala. Okay, I'm not sure I really want this. Take aside. So you find that there are tables of food barely touched. So how do you manage food wastage when it comes to events? Let's start with Elohor, then you can answer.
I mean, the food has to be nice, right? It has to taste nice. And you can't control that as well because everyone is different. Some people might, I want amala, today I want jollof rice, So with that, you have to just have enough food throughout the entire wedding, And most people have the after food, the small chops and all that. So as long as food is flowing throughout, then,
Yeah, for me, a lot has to do with the way food is paced at an event. Because you also don't want to get to an event, you have dressed up, 1 hour after the event is started, food has finished. You understand? So it's a question of the way people work. The event manager works with the caterers. The caterers, why you see a lot of food on the table, because a lot of caterers, most times, they just, let me just quickly serve my food and just know that we are finished. Their madam may not be there, the owner of the business or the oga of the business is not there. They just want to finish serving and go and play with their friends outside and start swapping drinks and food, whatever they do at events. So the thing to do is for the event manager to be on top of what's going on with the food and the way the food is paced. So that it comes out in batches. And of course, the waiters should clear the tables. People don't finish eating. I have ushers that their sole purpose is to clear table.
Okay.
Yes,
because you're not supposed to have dirty dishes on the table. You're not supposed to have leftover food. You're not supposed to have all that lying around. And of course, it's a difficult thing because abroad, best practice, some waiters, my sister told me, she lives in Italy, she says to me, Uche, there are some waiters that earn as much as surgeons. So it's actually a career.
Yes,
Nigeria, we don't train. We don't train. So there's only one caterer I know who trains her staff, who has trained her waiters.
So you use her constantly, I'm sure.
Well, I try to use
her. But why haven't they done that though? Why hasn't that been an area that has been rehearsed?
You see, that's what I was saying. This is now politically bit. I don't believe that what we need so much at universities. We need more technical, vocational institutes because those 1 year, 2 years, people get training. You know, they don't have to spend so much money to set up these vocational schools
Yeah.
so that people can gain, so that all these youths that are not employed, they can enter gardening. People will pay. You will be sure, like my ironmonger. I will shudder how much he earns in a year. It's a lot of money. Those are all vocational school careers, you know. So waitering service, catering service, those are all, you know. So it would really help.
There are many sectors in your industry that is creating more jobs.
Absolutely.
Job opportunities for people and what have you. Because I think the amount of money you spend on event planning now, nobody is ready for second guesses or mediocrity. Everybody wants the best.
It's a big industry.
It's a big industry. I mean, when I see some of the flowers that are in display and the way some of these halls are decorated, it's like you can be in any part.
And in Nigeria, 7 days, there's always a party.
Exactly.
Weddings, events.
Now, I want to ask, now, when it comes to when you give your bills, what's the minimum deposit that you will take? And why, and where are there occasions that is most difficult for you to get your full payment? I know this is a very controversial question, you know, but like every business, how difficult is it sometimes to get your balance?
Uche, 100%.
Oh no, wait.
They'll pay you 100%.
Oh yeah,
before the event.
Yes.
Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
It's
Do you
100%
know?
now. Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. If you're starting, it's usually 80% first, then before the event, 20%. At least before you.
Okay, what about me, the client? What guarantee do I have that I will get full satisfaction?
You will
You
get
get it.
Trust from the
So
experience.
it's your reputation that will not.
It's your reputation, yeah. You have to pay 100% because
Are you
there's so many
serious?
stories that, you know, when I first started, I
Give us examples of experiences that you've had.
When you first started,
When I first started,
Don't call names.
I don't call names. I just, okay, so the lady, you know, I went to meet this lady and I just, okay, wow, she's good, you know, she has money and all that. And she went on about this. She even flew me to London to go and buy the gifts, so many things, you know. So she paid 50%. So I did the wedding, and this is like 7 years ago until date.
Are you serious?
The balance, yes.
She hasn't paid you the 50% balance.
Yeah.
And they will justify it.
Yes.
They will justify it.
She even called me again 3 years ago to ask if I could do her daughter's wedding. And I
After
said
not
no.
paying you for that first one.
Yeah. So after then, I said, no way, it has to be 100% before.
But how many people, do people really agree to pay 100%?
Oh yes,
upfront?
people do. Yes.
So a lot
Some
of-
people just want
I
to get it
won't
out
do
of the way.
I won't do it.
Yeah,
I
people
won't
just
do
want to
it.
get it out of the way as well, and they don't want to
Even
go
if
Even if it's,
Yes.
90%,
Yeah.
no?
And I think you know your client. Because if your client can't pay you 80% before you start anything, then you know that client you can't.
That's
No,
very
but
interesting.
80% is enough deposit to pay now.
No,
Why-
no, no.
Is it because your service is the type that once that's happened, that's it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Yes.
But
It's
let me
instant.
ask,
Not only that, it's also an emotional thing.
Yeah.
The worst are funerals.
Why so?
I have people who have not paid me for the funeral.
Wow.
Yes.
why?
And you see, because it's awkward, somebody has just died. So they can really, you know, it's difficult. It's very
So
difficult.
those ones up front, no compromise.
Everybody up front.
Everybody
Up
up
front,
front.
100%. I didn't know that the person-
100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Newton and David. up
Because you
front.
also have to pay vendors. You know, also
Yeah.
vendors also
Okay, yeah,
they
that's
want their 100% payment before.
I even prefer not to touch vendors. I prefer vendors paid directly.
Okay, but if they are working under you, they're the vendors that you recommended.
Yes, they pay them and they give me the payment advice.
Okay, so it just makes
Because
things
of
less-
taxes,
Yeah.
the tax is a lot, and I employ a lot of people. So you know, the running cost for me is crazy. And people imagine that when they pay me, that the money is coming to me. Meanwhile, the ironmonger, the carpenter, the painter, you know, the upholsterer, those
But
are
you
all
can remove the
people.
taxes from their own fees as well, no? Whatever tax
They are
they charge.
artisans.
No,
They don't want
please.
to know that. Too.
That's the area I don't want you
start
to remove
swear-
fees from.
They will be
It's all the
swearing
hardship
for you
they are
in
going
front of
through.
their office.
Yes, it's not
in
even
front
right,
of your
please.
And so
office.
don't you include that tax?
If you want to do event, pay them, please.
When you're paying, when you're
It's
charging.
very difficult. Look at what dollar was talking last week.
that's-
Yeah.
Look at how much dollar is
It's very
this week.
difficult, yeah.
So you absorb the loss.
I'm curious though. Has any party, almost any wedding or any event, almost come to a standstill because of some disruption?
Yeah.
Have you ever had experience?
There are cancellations
Yeah,
because
has
of
cancellation.
disagreement on
Yeah.
and
Double
it's from
couples, yeah.
event manager.
What do you mean cancellations? As in, the event is cancelled.
Once the dignity of any of the family is wounded, things can happen.
Yeah.
Things
lot of
can
cancellation.
happen. Things have to be
Changes.
managed very carefully.
Yeah.
Who
Very
cancels? You
carefully.
cancel the event manager's job, or the event manager cancels?
No, the wedding doesn't
It just
take
cannot
place.
happen.
Oh,
I know an
Oh,
event
are you
that...
talking about us and the
No, I'm
client?
not saying even in
Oh,
weddings. I mean,
between
events.
weddings.
Yeah,
There was an
groom
event
and
that
bride.
the bride's mom did not want a particular guest to attend, and then the groom's mom wanted that guest to attend. She was closer to those people,
Yes.
and because of that decision,
happens.
The wedding didn't take
the wedding
place.
did not take
Yes,
place.
it
After
happens.
everything had been paid for.
After
Yeah.
a lot of things had
Yes,
been paid
yes,
for.
it happens. It happens. The event planner has a very key role to play.
What about event? Has there been any event where one groom or one bride didn't turn up?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah, we've all heard
Yes,
of those.
it's happened. Yes.
So wait, what now happens? Everybody was waiting for the bride to turn up or the groom to turn up.
Well, we will get to know because phone call will be made, and the bride will not enter. Obviously, she will not enter the hall. She won't enter, but everybody knows something happened.
So what just happens? The guests just sit there, and then what happens?
Nobody
They
will start
eat
talking to each other, and then
They celebrate.
We're running out of time, but just
Yes.
one final question. How do you manage theft at events? It's become an increasing problem.
There's a particular security company I always recommend. I
Okay.
would mention it because it would look as if I'm biased, and they're very good. Because also it's very awkward to have. There's some event halls that have CCTV cameras, but sometimes I don't know how people will feel
crowd.
about it. So sometimes we do track if the event hall has a CCTV,
Okay.
But it is something that happens, particularly drinks. And then also it depends on the drink vendor you're using. I'm being very open because
Yes,
it's good
you're
for
right.
us to all learn,
Yeah.
in the industry. So, I know my drinks person, I've used two of them. The two of them I use all the time, drinks people. And what they try to do is make sure that when they leave a bottle on the table, they open
We
it.
open it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's never,
So there's
never,
no- yeah.
So that
closed.
it can be put in the handbag.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't
that's
trust
fine.
an open bottle, but
No, but I mean, there are people that in
put it
front of
there and they
people now.
open it there in front of
Okay.
you. So
But
it's
then
not
no,
like
when speaking of that, so what about you know how they say you put your phone like this and maybe the cleaner is coming and they just use their handkerchief
Phone
or
theft.
napkin to consider. So do you think that apart from investing in ushers, event planners also have to have security people?
Yes,
that
I think
are
that's-
almost like on every table or every two tables.
I think that's what a lot of family always say, no, we only want few securities. For me, it's so important that you have to have enough security inside the hall. Not too much, but at least one for every 3 tables to manage, But then again, I mean, to be honest with you, you also can't control certain things.
Yeah, but I think the presence of security to a certain extent will curtail.
Yeah, yes, it would definitely.
Excessive.
I guess assuming that security are not stealing themselves.
Well, I mean, the videos
Yeah,
we are
that's
seeing.
another one.
Yes,
Yes,
For me,
that's true.
the answer probably is for halls to have CCTV. It's actually happened to me. Somebody's bag, a client's sister or somebody's bag was stolen in a hall, and through the CCTV, they got to find out.
Was it a guest
And
or was it?
It was my staff, one of my staff.
Wow.
He stole somebody's handbag. Yes, and he was caught in the CCTV camera.
Oh, wow.
And of course, he returned everything, and there was money involved, some small change.
Anyway, like I said, this has
So,
been very, very
To have
interesting.
so many people, for me, there's a problem with having too many security.
I guess that the more people you have, the more security you need, the more ushers you need, or whatever.
You have plenty
To continue.
ushers, plenty stewards, plenty security.
Well, we just have to look for the best way to work it out. But thank you, Uche, Majekodunmi, thank you, Elohor, Aisien, for at least
Thank you both.
opening our eyes to the challenges that you face in the event planning industry. And we hope that we will learn, or people around you will learn from what you have divulged to us so far. Thank you for being on Perspectives with us.
having us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruth.
Okay, that was an interesting convo. There are dreamers and there are planners. The planners make the dreams come true. A great events manager makes even the host feel like a guest. The most successful event is the one that achieves the client's goals and exceeds their expectations. Memorable events don't just happen. The event planner plays a huge role in making it memorable. For every job out there, practice makes perfect. If you make mistakes and you learn from them, that's all we have time for today. And remember, as I always say, life is a learning curve. Thank you for being with us on Perspectives. I am Bruce Osime. See you next week.
And I am Majekodunmi-Oniru. The world needs a much stronger dosage of healthy celebrations, love, and happiness. Thank you for watching Perspectives today. Thank you to our special guests for joining us. Have a great weekend. See you all soon. Bye.